Pecharunt, the mythical, devious little peach Pokemon that is known to be the arch-enemy of everyone's beloved cute green Oni girl, Olgapon. We first officially learnt about Pecharunt in the DLC epilogue Mochi Mayhem, but there's still so much to look at, theorize, and learn about this poisonous little trickster who controlled the Loyal Free to do all of its dirty work. And in this video, we will be doing exactly that. From Pecharunt's history and present-day antics, what inspired Pecharunt, its behavior and design, as well as the meaning behind its Japanese name. We will be discussing it all right here. Please enjoy this video deep dive on Pecharunt. I'm Sue from Pokisatami. Thanks so much for clicking onto this video. I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoy it. And if you do, please do hit that like button, subscribe if you're not already. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please do check out some of my other videos when you finish this one. In particular, my previous deep dives. One focusing on the green Oni girl herself, Olgapon, and another focusing on everybody's favorite zombie bear, Blood Moon Ursaluna. Lastly, before we move on to the pit of this video, please do excuse my lame attempts at peach puns. If you clicked on this video because of the beautifully illustrated thumbnail, do head on over to X and search for the user at BertLarpin96 to find Rumiko, the amazing artist of this illustration. Rumiko is a real peach helping me out with this illustration, so be sure to give her a follow and you'll be treated to more beautiful art on your X feed. Let's start off by looking at Pecharunt's typing, ability, and stats. Pecharunt is the first Pokemon in a really long time to have the Poison and Ghost typing, with the last poisonous ghost line being Generation 1's Gengar line. Pecharunt is classed as the Subjection Pokemon, using its power to subject both people and Pokemon to its own will. Pecharunt's base stats for all points excluding defense is 88, with its base stat for defense being 160. With the ability Poison Puppeteer, any Pokemon that is inflicted with the poison status condition by Pecharunt will also suffer confusion. Aiding this nasty ability is Pecharunt's signature move, Malignant Chain, an attack where Pecharunt pours toxin into the target by wrapping it in a toxic corrosive chain. This attack may also leave the target badly poisoned. Pecharunt's Japanese name is Momotaro, so let's have a look at what this name means. Momo is the Japanese word for peach, and the Japanese name for the pecha berry in-game is Momonomi. Warao is derived from several different words. First, waro, an olden word meaning boy. Waroshi, another old word meaning something bad, with the modern day equivalent being rari. And waro, but this time meaning to cut, divide, or split. The name Momotaro also sounds very similar to the name Momotaro, the historical folklore character of which Pecharunt and Olgapon's story is inspired by. As for how the community came to know about the existence of this prankster peach, sometime around October of 2023, following the release of the Teal Mask, data miner Matt was able to find a lot of hidden information in the codes. When it comes to Pecharunt, two very important things were found. The code name Dokutaro, with Doku meaning poison in Japanese, and Taro once again being derived from the name Momotaro, and an image of a then unknown Pokemon with a shape that oddly resembled the pink plush toy at Peachy's shop. This image was soon matched with a still image we saw in-game of the Loyal Free. The community was soon flooded with discussion and discourse about how the mysterious Dokutaro could possibly impact the story of the second DLC in the Indigo Disc. After all, we had seen several other mysterious things during our school trip to Kitakami. The purple haze and Kieran's personality shift, for example. But upon the release of the Indigo Disc, as we played through the story, there was not one mention or even a hint towards Dokutaro. Kieran wasn't controlled or evil like many of us expected him to be, and after becoming the Blueberry Academy champion and catching the little time travel turtle, everything returned to normal. It wasn't until we got the announcement for our third free additional DLC, the Mochi Mayhem epilogue, that we could start theorizing again. Although there was barely any information in the trailer or in any of the following announcements, the community knew that this was when we were finally going to meet Dokutaro. Moving on, for the next section of the video, there will be particularly heavy spoilers for Mochi Mayhem for the next few minutes. So if you want to skip over the storyline discussion and possible heavy spoilers, Skip to the time point that will be written on the screen now. 3, 2, 1. Okay, so let's get moving on with this. While playing the epilogue, we learned that Pecharunt has the ability to control and manipulate people and Pokemon by feeding them purple mochi. Upon eating the purple mochi, a person will be binded and controlled by Pecharunt. The two separate Pokédex entries for Pecharunt provide a little more information on Pecharunt's rather controlling nature. The Scarlet Pokédex reading: it feeds others toxic mochi that draw out desires and capabilities. Those who eat the mochi fall under Pecharunt's control, chained to its will. And the Violet Pokédex reading: its peach-shaped shell serves as storage for potent poison. It makes poisonous mochi and serves them to people and Pokemon. We get our first strongly hinted at look at just how Pecharunt's toxic mochi draws out the desires and capabilities of its victims by looking at Nemona's actions in the epilogue. Until we finally find Nemona at Loyalty Plaza, nearing the end of the epilogue, we had only ever seen the people who had consumed the mochi in a frenzied state, dancing while chanting mochi mochi. None of these people seemed to have any goal to achieve or desire to be met. However, Nemona, being the determined Pokemon trainer and battle maniac she is, seemed to have gone out on a massive stroll around the Kitakami surrounding area, while still under Pecharunt's control. Upon battling Nemona, we see she has added some new members to her team, all of which would have needed to have been captured and then moderately trained in Kitakami. Komomoo, which Nemona would have caught as either its pre-evolution Jangmoo in the Ristful Fields, Paradise Barrens or Kitakami Wilds, or Hakamoo in the Paradise Barrens, then leveled up and evolved. Then, depending on your starter choice, a Ribombee, which would have been captured and then leveled up in either Mossfell Confluence or the Ristful Fields area. A Milotic, which would have been captured as a Feebas in the area of the Crystal Lake, leveled up and evolved. Or a Dusknoir, which would have been captured as a Dusclops in the Kitakami Wilds or Timeless Woods, then leveled up and evolved. And we know that Nemona caught these Pokemon off-screen during the time period where she was missing and under the control of Pecharunt, because until that moment she had been together with everyone else the entire trip, excluding a trip that was too quick to Peachy's, where she consumed the mochi. But we also see an example of Pecharunt's poisonous control showing a little bit of weakness when looking at how Arven acted while under Pecharunt's grasp. It was shown that Arven seemed embarrassed, and his dancing was a lot more listless than everyone else who was under Pecharunt's control. However, Penny on the other hand actually seemed to be enjoying everything. But from this we can draw the conclusion that even if Pecharunt is able to take control of a person's body and alter their desires, some people may still retain their own conscious feelings even if they cannot act on them. Finally, in the final battle against Pecharunt, if faced with any member of the Loyal Three, it seems as though Pecharunt is disgruntled that its former retainers are going against it rather than aiding it, meaning Pecharunt has lost its control over the three it once commanded. And with that, the epilogue of Mochi Mayhem was complete, and it seems like our storyline adventures in Scarlet and Violet are also done and dusted. Following Mochi Mayhem, however, many people still had a lot of questions. Why was Pecharunt after the masks, being one of the many questions? Was Pecharunt really a bad peach with a heart of stone, or was there more to it? Following Mochi Mayhem's release, the Pokemon Company suddenly dropped a video detailing Pecharunt's past. We learnt that Pecharunt had two human companions, an old lady and an old man, who cared for it deeply as if it was their child, and in return, Pecharunt loved them dearly. But that love was not enough for Pecharunt. It wanted more love, so it fed the old couple special binding mochi, made from its poison. Upon eating the mochi, the old couple fell under the influence of Pecharunt. Pecharunt's binding mochi more or less acts as a desire amplifier, as the old couple's requests and demands for Pecharunt increased more and more every day. Clothing, expensive berries, and so on. It got to the point where there were so many demands that Pecharunt needed to tame another Pokemon using its binding mochi. This would be Pecharunt's first retainer, Okidogi. But Pecharunt was happy because with each gift, the love Pecharunt received in turn from the old couple grew. But the demands from the old couple just kept on growing until one day, suddenly, they requested a set of special masks that were said to be in the far-off land of Kitakami. Although this request would undoubtedly be more difficult, Pecharunt was excited for something new. Pecharunt set off on the journey with its first retainer Okidogi, but along the way, it found another retainer in Monkey Dory who had the skill of foresight. Pecharunt just needed to have Monkey Dory as a retainer. Following this, Pecharunts, which provided Pecharunt with a calm, safe feeling, was binded as the final retainer. Together, the 4 Pokemon journeyed all the way to Kitakami, finding the masks under the ownership of Ogerpon and its human companion. In order to obtain the masks, Pecharunt planned carefully, but even with Monkey Dory's foresight, things still went wrong. The cave was meant to be empty, but just as Okidogi and Pecharunts were about to leave with the masks in hand and, beak, I guess, Ogerpon's human companion returned. He leapt into battle. Okidogi and Pecharunts had no choice but to fight back and defend themselves. It was time to say R.I.P., rest in peaches, for Ogerpon's human companion. Escaping with 3 of the 4 masks, Pecharunt and the 3 retainers gathered. Pecharunt was overjoyed as it thought to itself, "Now they will love me even more." But that joy didn't last for long, as Ogerpon came rushing in. Absolutely terrified, Pecharunt ordered its retainers to battle the enraged Ogerpon. But it was all pointless against Ogerpon, who quickly defeated the 3 retainers and focused its wrath on Pecharunt. At this point, Pecharunt knew its fate was bleak. Battling against Ogerpon, Pecharunt had no chance of making it out in one piece. Pecharunt had lost everything: the masks, its companions, its happy life with the old couple. Using the last of its strength, it withdrew into its shell and entered a deep slumber, rolling down and down and down until it came to a stop in a forest. The story ends with the line, "Perhaps it rests there still, wanting to be awakened, so it can finally grant the old couple's wish." While this story does provide some new insight, it also creates many more questions, but this is pretty standard for Pokemon. But what we do know now is that Pecharunt was found by the old couple, and it traveled to Kitakami to obtain the masks. So where is Pecharunt's point of origin? And if not the same region where it lived with the old couple, then where? It's kind of hard to pick out an area where Pecharunt itself could have come from, although a lot of people like to speculate maybe it comes from Area 0. However, when looking at the region where the old couple lived, I believe there are 2 possibilities. One possibility being a new, yet to be explored region based on the Chugoku region of Japan. The Chugoku region of Japan neighbors the Kansai region, the inspiration for Pokemon's Johto region. Additionally, Pecharunt and Ogerpon's story is heavily inspired by the story of Momotaro, which I will be explaining in more detail shortly. But the relevance here is while the story of Momotaro has several debatable origins, the most popular origin place in the modern era is the Okayama Prefecture, located in the Chugoku region. Thusly, a currently unexplored Chugoku-inspired region would be a sensible guess for the location seen in the story of Pecharunt. The second possible location is hinted at in this scene. Jumping from the water, we see 2 Basculegions, a Pokemon that is naturally native to the Hisui region. Hisui would also be a logical consideration, as we know Blood Moon Ursaluna made the journey from Hisui to Kitakami by sea. However, it's also completely possible that Basculegion could have resided in regions apart from Hisui in the past. Also, the timeline has some inconsistencies when it comes to Hisui, as it's said by Kirin that the masks were made by his great-great-great-grandpa's great-great-great-grandpa, which would predate the Galaxy Group and perhaps even the Diamond and Pearl clan settlements in Hisui. And the house in the village where the old couple resided did not match what was seen in the more recent past we saw in Legends. Moving on to the topic of the retainer Pokemon, the Loyal 3. During the Teal Mask, the location markers for the retainers all mentioned how they were once weak, stupid, and ugly, and decide strength, intelligence, and beauty. However, if Pecharunt's story is true, it appears that Pecharunt binded the Loyal 3 to it as its retainers because they already possessed these traits. Also, when listening to Pecharunt's story, although the loyal three are referred to as companions, it was also said that Pecharunt tamed Okidogi with its binding mochi, and Monkey Doi simply had to be made a retainer due to its foresight. It seems as though the partnership may have only been beneficial to Pecharunt after all. And at the very end of the story, we hear of how Pecharunt slumbering in its shell rode down to the forest. This is probably the Timeless Woods, but if that's the case, how did Pecharunt find its way to Peachy's? And just how long had it been sitting on the small town shop counter? And the biggest question, whose point of view is this story from? There are several key differences between Pecharunt's story and Ogapon's story told by Carmine and Kieran's grandfather. Key points of which are the near-complete exclusion of Pecharunt, Ogapon's human companion being present at the time of the robbery in Ogapon's story, and arriving during the robbery in Pecharunt's story, and lastly, only Okidogi and Pheasantipity being involved in the fight with the human at the cave, versus it being 3-on-1 in the other story. So which of the two stories is closer to the truth? But what we did learn from Pecharunt's story is that Pecharunt loved the old couple very dearly. It was Pecharunt's desire for more of their love that led to the production of the binding mochi. We even see Pecharunt gifting several boxes of mythical pecha berries to the old couple, the exact same type of mythical pecha berry that triggers the beginning of the Mochi Mayhem storyline in Scarlet and Violet. Perhaps it was the smell of the mythical pecha berry in the player's bag that woke Pecharunt from its slumber, as the scent brought back memories of its old life with the old couple. But if you think about it, the old couple, their request took a rather sudden turn. Originally, only requesting items that would have been easy to gain. Suddenly, they decide rare masks from an entirely different region. What triggered this sudden demand? Perhaps some part of them knew that they were not their usual selves. Perhaps they wanted to send Pecharunt to a far-off land so some distance could be created. Or perhaps they wanted the masks so that they could act as a barrier and stop them from consuming Pecharunt's binding mochi. Another point to ponder is the signpost located in the Paradise Barrens, which reads, "If you see a shadowy figure approaching you outside the village at twilight, be wary, don a mask at once, and hide your face." At first, everyone assumed this was a warning against Ogapon, but the concept of a shadowy figure and using a mask for protection fits much more with Pecharunt. But this causes some confusion with the timeline, as it seems Pecharunt only spent a short time in Kitakami before its defeat and slumber. In that short time, perhaps it fed its mochi to some poor maskless victims. If so, perhaps it was the remaining power from the binding mochi that led such people to tell stories of Ogapon as the villain, or perhaps to even gather Pecharunt's slumbering shell in the forest and carry it to safety. Now, let's take a closer look at the classic Japanese folklore story Momotaro, the inspiration behind Pecharunt. The story of Momotaro begins with an old lady who was washing clothes at a local lake, when suddenly she noticed a large peach floating by. She gathered the peach and took it to the home she shared with her husband. But upon cutting the peach open, they were surprised to find a young child. The old couple had never had any children, so they were overjoyed. They raised the child with love, and over time, he grew brave and strong. However, life wasn't all peachy, as a gang of Oni, who resided on the nearby Oni mountain, would frequently travel down to the town where Momotaro and the old couple lived to steal and pillage, leaving destruction in their wake. When Momotaro had grown strong enough, he decided to travel to Oni Island to defeat the Oni and gather all of the stolen goods. So he set off on his journey, saying farewell to his parents, who gifted him a large ration of kibidango, a food they hoped would help keep him strong and full of courage. Along the way, he met a dog. The dog agreed to join Momotaro on the journey in exchange for some of the rations of kibidango. Momotaro happily obliged. Following this, a monkey and then a pheasant both joined the journey in exchange for some rations of kibidango. After the long journey across land and sea, the group finally reached Oni Island. An epic battle commenced, and after much fighting, Momotaro and the 3 animal companions gained victory. They returned to Momotaro's home village as champions, with the items plundered by the Oni, as well as the head Oni as a captive. While Pecharunt is clearly inspired and has many influences from Momotaro's story, there are also some very clear differences between the story of Momotaro and Pecharunt. In both stories, Momotaro and Pecharunt wanted and enjoyed the love given to them by the old couple. The personality of Momotaro and Pecharunt are in dark contrast. While Momotaro was strong and brave, Pecharunt was always meek and weak, needing to force bonds with the loyal 3, unlike Momotaro, who became travel companions with the 3 animals through a mutually beneficial agreement. In the story of Momotaro, the Kibidango were given to Momotaro by the old couple. However, in Pecharunt's story, Pecharunt fed the poison mochi to the old couple in order to control them and to increase their desires. And while the Kibidango were given to the 3 loyal companions in an agreement in the story of Momotaro, it seems like the loyal 3 in Pecharunt's story had no choice in the matter. Now coming to the biggest difference between the 2 stories. While the telling of Pecharunt's tale is much more sympathetic to Pecharunt and the loyal 3 than the telling of Ogerpon's story, it still paints Pecharunt as the one in the wrong, controlling others and stealing, albeit for what it considered justifiable reasons, whereas Momotaro is without doubt the hero of his story. Now let's have a quick closer look behind the inspiration of Pecharunt's binding mochi, which is Kibidango. Kibidango, the Japanese sweet snack that Momotaro used to gain the friendship of the 3 animal companions. Kibidango is a flat round mochi snack famous in the Okayama prefecture of Japan. Kibidango are usually starch white in color, with a simple, sweet yet mild flavor. A true delectable Kibidango will melt in your mouth. Additionally, in the Japanese version of the game, when under the control of Pecharunt, rather than chanting mochi mochi, the friends and random NPCs will instead chant kibi kibi while dancing. And on the topic of food, peaches in Japan hold a long history of cultural importance. There is also an old tale, predating even Momotaro, where a person is said to have driven away an Oni by throwing peaches at it. Peaches are also thought to be a symbol of good luck, longevity, and happiness. Peaches are also thought to be able to grant eternal youth. Peaches are a common gift in Japan, but they are always expensive. A box of quality peaches can set you back anywhere from 5,000 yen to 30,000 plus yen. So if you ever receive a gift of peaches from a Japanese friend, you can be sure that they care and value you deeply. Perhaps that's why Pecharunt gifted the old couple so many mythical pecha berries. Another interesting aspect of Pecharunt and the Loyal 3 is the connection to the number 88. All 3 members of the Loyal 3 have a base HP stat of 88, and as mentioned earlier in the video, all of Pecharunt's base stats, excluding defense, is 88. And furthermore, when battling and catching Pecharunt, it is level 88. This is likely a Goro-Arase pun. Goro-Arase is a phonetic matching wordplay game where numbers are matched with phonetic sounds. A few possible outcomes for 88 are yaya, a kind of childish and also a dialect word meaning no way, yaba, a shortened version of the word yabai meaning awful, and pachi pachi, which is the sound of clapping. In Japanese culture, 8 is also often seen as an auspicious lucky number, with the kanji branching out to express a bright future. All in all, Pecharunt's story is a reimagining of the classic folklore tale of Momotaro in a way that highlights the trouble of human greed. If Pecharunt had been happy with the love given to it by the old couple, if it had never tried to get even more love from the people who had already loved it dearly, the story would have no doubt have had a much happier ending. And with that, the deep dive on the cultural connections of Pecharunt comes to a close. I'm so sorry for all the pitiful peach puns that I littered into this video, but I hope you have found it informative in some way. I can't thank you all enough for spending your time watching this video. Please make sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more content like this, and drop a comment to share your opinion on Pecharunt. With that, it's time to say peach out. No, but seriously, it's time to say bye bye. Mata ne.